Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with another video. This time, I wanted to talk about how to build a team for the endgame modes. Um, and like I said before, I just wanted to preface this by saying, I'm a free-to-play player. I've been playing since Honkai released, like last year, 2023 on PS5. I've been pretty casual with the game. The first few months, I only really got serious, quote unquote serious, right, until I got Acheron. Which does it tell you when you received characters? I think it does. Obtained on March 26th. Yeah, because I saw how strong she was, and I was like, oh, now that I got this character, I could definitely try and clear in-game content, right? So I just wanted to go through a few things. Like, I'll start off with what are the end game modes, how to build teams to complete them, and then I'll go over some of the different like meta teams in the game. So let's start off with what are the end game modes, and also like what is the point of completing them, if you're like a casual player, right? So the end game modes start with the simulated universe. You get the like at the beginning of the game with Herta, um, and then you get Divergent Universe. So these kind of these kind of give you the same weekly rewards. So yeah, this resets weekly, just so you know, with the rewards. So to go over what is really the point of doing this, I mean it's really because of the rewards, right? Let me just show you in Divergent Universe. You could get all of this every week. The gems really aren't that much, I know, but you get this immersifier thing, which you can use to grind the planar boss battles. So you could grind that with this instead of using your energy. You get a free Star Rail pass every week. Get some credits. Oh, I guess you do get 200 something in gems, but you get some relic XP. You get a Herta bond, so you could superimpose some of your good, 4 or 5 star weapons. More credits, and then the tracks are always good to upgrade your characters. So it's pretty good stuff that you would need to upgrade your characters or your weapons, but basically upgrade your account, right? So if you're interested in doing the end game modes, this is a great start. And I actually highly recommend this for beginners, only because let me just say start game. I don't know if this was explained to you before. I explained it in another video, but I'm sure it gets lost. So you see, there's different levels. Always pick the highest level, level 5, because you get the most points on completion, right? And you just want to do this once, right? Unless you want to do it for fun. But as you can see, everyone here is level 80. And I did not myself grind these all to 80. Like this, the game just lets you play as all of your characters, like kind of boosted. So for example, Sampo, I never leveled. Is there a way to look at him? So this mapping mode, or whatever they call it, they just kind of bring everyone to a default level, which is basically level 80. The weapon that they have equipped will be level 80. Their talents will be brought up, 8, 8, 8, 8, and 5. So that's pretty solid. And then the relics, I do not have Eagle on him, so I believe they just put some default relics on them, and then they put those up to 15. So basically you could try out any team you want. So if you're looking to build a character, like a specific character for your endgame mode, test them out in Divergent Universe, because it's basically your character is built for free. So it's like a great testing grounds for any team you want to build. So I highly recommend that. I've had a lot of fun with this end game mode, just to test out different teams because I don't have the resources to build everyone, you know. So I highly recommend you try this out, especially if you have doubts on like like a standard banner character or a 4-star, if it's really worth like leveling them up and whatever. Just try them out in this endgame mode, and you'll see what they could do. All right, so that's Divergent Universe, and Simulated Universe uses the same. It gives you the same rewards on a weekly basis, but they have like their own like reward tree, like one-time rewards, which you can go for. Um, I could show you that really quick, just to be thorough. So you go here, click teleport. Um, so there's a few things, right? Let's go back. So we're in Herta's office. So we click this. So the first thing you see is Simulated Universe, right? So this has the different world levels, and each of the world levels has their own rewards. Um, and I did not get all these rewards, unfortunately. Um, I didn't get the 4th level awards. But you could do this instead of Divergent Universe, but there's no point, in my opinion, of doing this. I mean, maybe for the first time reward, but like I said, in this mode, your characters don't get leveled for free. So as you can see, my Sampo is level 1. So you have to use whatever characters you built, unfortunately. So you could do this once just to get all of these like first clear rewards, but it's not worth it to grind this on a weekly basis, in my opinion. This is just more fun and easier to do Divergent Universe. So in addition to that, there's a few more modes. I did not even unlock this one. Interesting. So there's Golden Gears. I think that unlocks first. Then or is it Swarm Disaster? I honestly forgot. I did not complete these modes, to be honest. So there's Swarm Disaster, Golden Gears, and whichever one this is. So they have their own reward systems inside. I don't know where you could see it really, what the rewards are, but maybe it's Trailblaze Secrets. No. Community. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. This mode has its own reward system, and so does Golden Gears, and so does this one. But they're one-time rewards. It's not like on a weekly basis. So if you have free time, grind these out for some more rewards as well. The other endgame modes. Geez. Okay, so Memory of Chaos. This kind of came out first. And there's a few permanent modes in there, and then there's like a weekly one that resets like every. I don't know exactly when it resets. So Pure Fiction just reset, and I believe it started with a 40-something day counter. So it's about every month, I believe, that this resets. It's a little bit over. It's a little more than that, but basically, so you have MOC, which has a few permanent modes. Let me just show you. So there's this Xianzhu Lofo, which I believe this is how you unlock your free links by completing this mode. And then this Last Vestiges mode, which it's just one-time rewards, and it's pretty good. Once you get at the end, I mean, you got to build up to the end of this, right? And we'll get to the character building and all that in a second. So yeah, you have Memory of Chaos. Oh, sorry, I skipped over that.
Do you want to enter the Forgotten Hall?
So let me just show you this really quick. So this is the mode that resets every week, and the rewards are also pretty good. It's mostly gems and I forget what this currency is. This is like another shop currency, which I'm going to show you in a second. And then this is the one-time reward, this memory reward. But this gift thing resets every month. So, go as far as you can and try and get the rewards. It's free, right? As long as you have time to grind it. Let me show you something else. The other important thing is there's a shop here. I think this is the same one as the Herta shop, but basically you can get free light cones here. These are all 4 stars, but some of them are good. I could probably go through these at a later point, but it's free light cones, and the currency is what you get from this mode, right? This currency here. Lucent Afterglow. You get it from Forgotten Hall, Pure Fiction, and Apocalyptic Shadow, which we're going to talk about. Echo of War is just your weekly, bosses that you could take out 3 times a week for those rewards. So, yeah, try not to miss out on those. But yeah, so this is the MOC. Pure Fiction is another mode, an endgame mode. I feel like I'm getting long-winded with this explanation, but let me just get into it in a little more detail. So MOC, right? MOC. I spoke about Divergent Universe and Simulating Universe. MOC is probably like the most standard endgame mode. What you're trying to do is complete the battle in as few turns as possible. That is the point. That is how you beat Forgotten Hall. Memory of Chaos. You beat the enemies in as few turns as possible. I believe you get 20 turns between 2 teams to beat the enemies. So that's 10 turns ideally per team. So that's just how it works in this game mode. Pure Fiction is you have to kill enemies and you have to hit like a certain score, and that means you have to AoE take out enemies as quickly as possible and hit the score markers. So that's like the point of Pure Fiction. And Apocalyptic Shadow, this is the newest endgame mode, and it's basically you have a set boss on each side, and they just kind of increase the level of the boss. So it's like here they start off at like level 70, 80, 90. I'm just throwing out numbers here because I don't want to click it right now. But yeah, the end game. Oh, so it's 90. So I guess it's 90, 80, 70, and 60. So, these are pretty decent rewards too, just like the MOC, right? But yeah, it just gets harder because the enemy itself has their own like buffs. And then you have your strengths and weaknesses in this mode. So it's just like a more difficult boss fight than usual, and you get your rewards from here. So all of these modes need 2 teams, like one on each side. Let me just get away from all this music. So yeah, how do you? So I showed you the end game modes. How do you build teams to complete these modes, right? Like I said, ideally you focus on 2 teams to beat these modes. And generally, I mean, it's easy to work this way. You just basically focus on 2 DPSs that you really like to build, and you make your 2 teams around them. In the beginning, right? That's just how it starts, right? So DPSs, they do most of the damage, right? So you have destruction units that could fulfill this role, hunt units, and erudition units. You could also make the case for a few nihility units like Acheron, um, Kafka or Black Swan. Maybe some of these other 4 stars if you really like them. Um, Maybe Wealth, for example. But yeah, Preservation, Abundance, Harmony, these are not your standard DPS units. I guess like unless you have a broken account, like maybe you can make them as the main DPS, but it's mainly Destruction, Hunt, Erudition, and Nihility units that you pick 2 of them, 2 of your favorites, and you just build teams around them. So how do you support your DPS? So for example, I have Acheron. So the way you uh, Acheron's probably not the best choice because her team is very specific. So let's talk about Serval instead, right? So Serval can make 2 different teams, but let's just focus on her main team, which is like hyper carry, main DPS. So she has like a low cost ultimate, which she could spam pretty quickly. So she would like more turns and more energy, right? So you give her a harmony to buff her, like Bronya or Ting Young, to give her more energy or more turns. And then you're blasting the enemy as quickly as you can with your serval, right? Another way you could do it, so you could either bring a harmony unit to buff your DPS, or you bring a nihility to debuff the enemy. So Pella, for example, she has her ultimate that reduces the defense of enemies for 2 turns. That's going to give your DPS more damage. Gwenephen has a trace that gives your DPS increased damage to whatever enemies get the status effect Fire Kiss, right? So 6% increased elemental damage. Is there any other cases? I mean, Silver Wolf is the same thing. If you have her, she has Defense Shred, and she also has another. She can reduce the attack and defense of the enemy, and their speed. Okay, yeah. So you can either debuff the enemy or buff your DPS, right? So that's the way you support your character, your main DPS. And then on top of that, you have preservation and abundance units to keep your units alive. And ideally, you just stick with one sustain. And it's kind of hard with the 4 stars or like the starter characters. But starting from like Bailu up to Japard or Aventurine, like then you could probably just run with one sustain for each team, right? Ideally. And then, there are these, crazy players who don't even run a sustain. They just try and take out the enemy as quickly as possible. Maybe they have another harmony or another nihility or maybe even another DPS, and they just kind of destroy the enemy before the enemy destroys them, right? So yeah, that's generally how you get it done. Now, for team examples, right? So in terms of the meta, right? What do I mean by the meta? The meta is basically the teams that the community have developed that consistently, beat the content and in a efficient manner, and you just basically copy the team format, based on whatever relics and weapons you have, and you could produce the same results yourself. So the meta teams in Honkai Star Rail, like I said, I don't know if I said in the beginning, I'm not a theory crafter. I'm not like a top clearer of this game. I'm a free to play kind of casual player, but I do like clearing endgame modes. So I follow along a lot of this information. So I'm just going to share what I know. So there's hyper carry in terms of meta teams. There's hyper carry. An example of a hyper carry is Seela. She's a hyper carry. Don Heng, hyper carry. Yang Ching, hyper carry. They just do the majority of the DPS. Serval can be built as a hyper carry, and you just either buff the heck out of your DPS or you debuff the enemy, and they just do a lot of damage. Jingyuan, um, another hyper carry. So the next playstyle that came out after that was DOT. So damage over time is basically spamming. So damage over time characters are only nihility characters, and basically what they have. So Black Swan is like the best example because she is the strongest DOT character. So it says in her. Let's start with her skill. Her skill deals wind damage, right? And then 100% base chance of inflicting a stack of Arcana. And then she has another, defense shred part of it. But basically, every time an enemy target receives damage over time, there is a 50% chance they will be inflicted with Arcana. When inflicted with Arcana, they receive win DOT equal to a percentage of Black Swan's attack at the start of each turn. So she is like a DOT character cranked up to the max. Because basically, the way DOT damage over time works, as I said, I'm not a theory crafter, but basically, for example, if you have sample, and he inflicts wind shear, right, with his wind attacks. Enemies inflicted with wind shear will take additional damage. So I'm saying this wrong. Every element has a chance to inflict their status onto the enemy, and that's determined by your effect hit rate, which I can't show over here. Let me get out of here. Your effect hit rate. Right, let me get to a character. So, Pella is ice. So she has a certain... Wow, I'm really getting... She has an effect hit rate of 20%. So, this increases the chance of applying debuffs to enemy targets, right? So, she has a 20% chance to freeze the enemy. And that's like, off of her attack, her skill, her ultimate, everything. Like I said, I'm not a theory crafter, but that's generally the idea, right? So, but freeze doesn't do damage over time, right? Freeze just kind of locks the enemy. But, fire gets you burn damage. Sample with the wind shear gets you wind damage. And that's every time the enemy takes a turn. So this is a long-winded way to explain damage over time, but basically damage over time teams, basically you want to buff the attack because that's how damage over time is calculated. So you buff the attack of Sampo, for example, then you let the enemies take their turn, take huge amounts of damage, and you just keep stacking, the status on them, and they just die that way. So you don't even care. So this kind of playstyle is unique, but what's cool about it is you don't even care what the weakness type of the enemy is. You just kind of spam your status effects on them, and then over time they just end up dying. So DOT teams do not care about weakness break at all because they're just going to go straight for the health bar, if you understand what I'm saying. So yeah, that's like the second team that was kind of developed in the meta. It's kind of fallen off because there's only one real DOT team, and that's Kafka and Black Swan together. Because Kafka enables DOT characters. She has a very unique ability. Let me see if I could explain it. It says, with 100% base chance to inflict shock equivalent to that applied by her ultimate. No, that's not it. Deals lightning damage. If the target is currently receiving damage over time, all damage over times currently placed on that enemy immediately produce damage. So she can proc with her skill, which is blast, right? Which, it'll hit 3 enemies. She can proc with her skill any DOTs that are currently on the enemy. So not only will they get hit with the DOT when it's their turn, Kafka can proc it herself. So she's very unique in that sense. And then Black Swan is the strongest DOT character in the game. So her paired with Kafka, that's the only way really damage over time works. Unless you really want to try hard on one of these other 4-star characters. Anyway, that was a lot of explanation for damage over time. All right, so that's another example of a team. The next type of team that was developed is follow-up attack. Now, there was, Topaz and Numby kind of started it, but she was kind of alone. There wasn't really much support for her, but then Dr. Ratio came out. Robin came out, which is the ultimate enabler of follow-up attacks, and Fei Zhao came out, right? So, now there's a lot of different ways you could play follow-up attacks, and then also Aventurine is follow-up based. So, it started off, not as that strong of a type of play style, but now it's really strong and effective, especially because of Robin. Because unfortunately, I didn't get her yet. But basically, what she does is her ultimate says all teammates immediately take action, and then she gives them some buffs, right? So, in a turn-based game where your allies take a turn and then the enemies take a turn. Let's just that's what turn-based means, right? When it's your turn, you could attack them or buff yourself or whatever, and then when it's the enemy's turn, they could do the same thing. But Robin literally skips all of that and says when her ultimate is up, the allies get a turn again. So it's just kind of broken. I mean, Bronya did it for like one character at a time, based on using her skill, but this is tied to her ultimate, and she can make everyone act again. So she really enabled follow-up attack teams. Okay, so then I think I kind of skipped over one of the original types of teams, and that's break. Firefly is kind of the poster child of break teams, but she kind of made it a really effective strategy. Well, I'm actually speaking out of turn. It's actually Harmony Trailblazer with her super break that really made a break an effective playstyle, because super break is just insane damage. And that's, when you break the enemy and you have Harmony Trailblazer's ultimate up, you could do some insane damage to weakness broken enemies. So thank you for giving us that character. She really enables a lot of different characters to shine with super break playstyle. So in addition to that, right, there's also a few like unique playstyles. So for example, there's Acheron, who wants 2 Nihility characters to enable. Where does it say that? I don't know exactly where it says it, but basically, she needs. Yeah, I actually don't know where it says that. I'm not going to look for it. Sorry about that. But basically, Acheron wants 2 Nihility characters on her team. So she's kind of like very unique in that when you get her Eidolons, she requires 1 less. Trace the Abyss. It's the Abyss Trace. So when she gets her Eidolon 2, she only needs 1 Nihility character. So what's the Abyss? Abyss. When there are one or two Nihility characters in the team, the damage dealt by Acheron's basic, skill, and ultimate increase to 115% or 160% of the original damage, respectively. So you got two Nihility characters, and Acheron does 160% more damage, which is like, why wouldn't you do that, right? So yeah, she has a very unique team, and if you only have 4 stars, her best team, in my opinion, is Pella and Gwennafen. The wealth isn't too bad, and Silver Fox is like a straight up upgrade over anyone else, because I think I said her name wrong, but Silver Wolf plus Pella is a ridiculous amount of defense dread, and it stacks. So yeah, Acheron's best team, if you didn't know, is Acheron, Silver Wolf, and Pella. Jai Chao, I guess, is good too. I don't know what his debuff is. His debuff is Ashen Rose is DOT. Oh, damage received by the enemy by 10%. And then he further increases the... So it's kind of like an upgrade of Gunnafen's ability, where he gives them damage increase debuff to the enemy. So yeah, Silver Wolf and Pella is still better. And like I said, Theory Crafters can prove me wrong, but there you go. Now, is there another unique team? Well, Jade is another follow-up attacker, so she wants like a follow-up DPS with her. So she can make herself the so what her skill does is make a single target ally become the deck collector. The deck collector gets additional damage and speed in exchange for HP. So she can make herself the deck collector, but ideally you have another DPS that she boosts up. And in Pure Fiction, it's a really good combination, like Herda or Serval with Jade. It's kind of broken. So that's Jade. Are there any other unique playstyles between the DPSs? Oh, okay. So you have Clara, Blade, and Yunli. Well, okay. Blade, no, okay, but Blade is different too, in that his team, but it's still a hyper carry team, right? But Clara and Yunli are unique in that they draw aggro. They're kind of like tanks. So where is her aggro ability? Right. She has greatly increased chance of being attacked. So, Clara or Yunli could be a sub DPS on your team, like a secondary DPS, or they could be the main DPS, and you just buff them like crazy, and you just let the enemies attack them, and then you just kill the enemies, on their reactions, on their counterattacks, right? So they're a very unique playstyle, but it's still kind of like a hyper carry playstyle in essence. But you could also make them the second DPS on the team, if that's what you prefer. Yeah, I mean that's really it for the meta teams as far as I understand them. I will try and explain in more detail what the best teams in the game are, just based on what I know, right? Just based on what I know, really quickly. This video has been going on a while, but I'll try and be quick about this. All right, so let's start with the destruction. I'll just try and speak on 5-star limited DPS teams, right? Because those are where the meta teams develop, right? So we have Blade, who I mentioned is a hyper carry. As you can see, I don't own him, but he is a hyper carry. Jingliu is the same. She is a hyper carry. She doesn't have just like Blade. As far as I understand, they don't have a set best team ever. But as far as I understand, back when they were meta, quote unquote, it was basically like Bronya and Tingyun to basically, buff them to the max, give them energy, let them do their thing. Does Jingliu use standard energy? I believe she does. She has like an up an ultimate form that she gets into. Um, but anyway, these are hyper carries, right? So their teammates aren't really set in stone. So the purpose of defining these meta teams, I just wanted to get into like Firefly, for example, has a set in stone like best team for her, and that is Firefly, Harmony, Trailblazer, Ruan May, and Gallagher. And they all of those characters support a break style team. So Firefly basically, well, actually Gallagher may have been power crept by Linksha because she supports break damage as well, right? Let's just take a look really quick. Um, yes, she does. So Linksha is the upgrade to Gallagher on that team. So yeah, so I just wanted to explain that Firefly has a set um, best team in the game. Well, for her character, right? And that team can clear basically all content in the game. Just to be clear, Don Hang, the 5-star version, he was meta. So in terms of his best teammates, it's Sparkle. I cannot tell you who his second Harmony unit would be. It'd either be Branya to give him an additional turn, or someone like Robin to give everyone else a turn. Is there another Harmony that would work well with him? Ruan Mei could give him more damage. Tingyan can give him energy. So yeah, I don't know who the second Harmony you would pair with Don Hang is, but he is married to Sparkle only because he uses a ton of skill points, and Sparkle gives you skill points. So yeah, just wanted to explain that. Yun Li does not have a set team, as far as I understand. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Fei Zhao, she kind of has a set team, although she could work with a lot of different teams, but her best teammates are actually Hunt March 7th and Robin. Robin because she can give everyone a turn, and she provides her own follow-up attacks that work very well with Fei Zhao. Dr. Ratio. This is a good question. He likes debuffers on his team, so I do not know what his best teammates are. But in terms of harmonies that can debuff, I could not tell you the answer to that. But nihility wise, Pella is a great debuffer. Gwenifin is a great debuffer. Obviously, Silver Wolf if you have her. Jay Chow, Black Swan, Welt. So then I'm assuming you would pair a nihility character and a good harmony. I mean, I guess Asta could get you burn damage, burn status effect. But she's a standard, so I don't think she's the best harmony for Dr. Ratio. But yeah, I'm getting off topic here. Sela, I don't think she has a best in slot team. It used to be Branya Tingyoung. That's back when she was. No, I'm sorry. She was Mono Quantum, so it was Silver Fox, Fujuan, with the Harmony. I guess Sparkle now, because Sparkle is Quantum. So I guess that is her best team. Topaz as the main DPS. I mean, she's follow-up attack, so Robin would be her best support. Boot Hill is actually break style. So I don't know if it's exactly super break, but he works very well with Ruan Mei. Moving on to Jade, I already spoke about Jade. She just wants another DPS to pair with, and her best support would be a toss between Robin to give more turns or Ruan Mei to give more damage. She doesn't use much skill points. So Sparkle wouldn't really help that much. Jing Yuan, he's a hyper carry, and his best team. So I believe, I mean, this is talking about new characters at this point, but Sunday, I believe, will be his best support because I believe Sunday buffs summons, like moves them up the turn ladder. So that's what I understand about him. Argenti, I do not understand his team at all, so I'm not going to say I understand it. Rappa, she's just released, and she can weakness break enemies that are not imaginary. So I'm guessing she likes Ruan Mei and works in a super break playstyle, but I could be wrong. And then all we have here are characters we already spoke about. Acheron, has her own Nihility team. Kafka and Black Swan are DOT, and that is all the meta teams we have in the game at this point. I hope this video helped you guys out. I hope it wasn't too long-winded. I just wanted to go over, how do you build a team for these endgame modes? What alternatives do you have? And, what's the point of playing the endgame modes? I hope it helped you out. I hope to see you guys in the next video. Take care.